Today is bittersweet because the last time that Stan Lee stood on stage in public was on this very stage a year ago. So I don't know how many of you were here last year, right? Okay. Well, you guys got to see his last talking to the public. When I was trying to break into comic books, I met him the very first time at 16. 16 years old. I accidentally ran into him at a convention. He let me sit next to him and pepper him with questions that ultimately led me to wanting to become a comic book artist. And so fast forward 10 years later, I'm actually doing Spider-Man, right? How serendipitous is it? And because of doing Spider-Man, I actually get to meet Stan Lee now from a professional level. And from that moment on, we became friends. And we've been friends, and we're friends for over 30 years. Here's what I saw with that man. He was one of the best human beings at conventions. And if any of you had the chance to meet him at conventions, he understood the fact, and this is not to be diminished because, again, you've got some very good, amazing celebrities here, and they're going to be coming, and you guys go to other conventions. It is not easy to try and make every single one of you that gets in line for somebody like Stan or Tom Hardy or some big celebrity to basically make all of you feel as important as the person before you and after you. And Stan Lee had this unique power, and I've been around long enough, I'm in my 50s. He had the unique power to be able to make the 20 or 30 seconds that he had with individuals seem important to that individual. He would smile. If anybody get to meet Stan and that 30 seconds mattered to you, right? Yeah, sure, right? Now, when he came here last year, here's the one thing that we forgot. He was 95 years old, right? I forgot it too. So I know even when I was at his house, I kept forgetting that this is a man in his 90s because he was so vibrant up on the stage and he would give so much of himself. So that at the end of his life, when he started acting like a normal human 95-year-old person, it was like, come on, Stan, where's the energy? Right? Because he had the energy. But here's what I know. Here's what makes all of us jealous, both as fans and as creative people. Some of us may be lucky enough to create one or two ideas. I got a character called Spawn. He's done okay for me. But what I haven't done is create dozens and dozens and dozens of those type of characters. And that's what Stan Lee did for the world. Along with his co-creators, right? Again, he didn't create them all. He co-created them with some great artists. He unleashed across the globe, much to his surprise, dozens of these characters that we now all take for granted, and we think there's going to be a new movie coming out every month, every single time. I had the good pleasure of being on stage with him probably 24 times. A lot of it was because he couldn't hear, and he goes, Todd, I need somebody to basically tell me the questions. And so he goes, I just need somebody, and I need somebody that I can poke fun. So we did this sort of Batman and Robin thing. But when we were behind the curtain or in the green room, he would say things to me like, can you believe it? Can you believe how big these movies are getting? Can you believe how much the world is going for this? It's amazing, isn't it, Todd? Oh my gosh, this is great. So he was as thrilled at what was happening with his characters as all of you were, because he had no idea. He didn't know what he was unleashing in the 60s. He was just doing his creative thing, and then they just blew up. And as they went, he was like, oh my gosh, and like a proud parent, he was just seeing them get bigger and bigger. And then he had the unique fortune to be able to then go, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start acting at 85, right? Wow. No, this isn't how it works, Stan, not for him. He starts acting at 95, and he's at the heyday by the time he's at 95 in those 10 years, and you're still going to see a couple cameos because they shot a couple of them in advance. He's still going to be up on screen on a couple movies, right? So, yes. My selfish part was he promised he was going to do a cameo on Spawn, and that's never going to happen, but somehow we'll figure out how to get him into the movie, even if it's just a poster in the background or something. But he enjoyed, there was two things, let me tell you right now, there was two things that Stan Lee cared about in my 30 years of knowing this man on a personal level. One was his wife. His wife died a couple of weeks before their 70th anniversary of being married. 70 years. Let's just stop for a moment and think about that number. Here's how you get to 70 years of marriage. You must meet each other when you're both 20. No, it's true. You can't meet each other at 40 and get 70 years. That one's not happening. So you got to meet each other at 20. Already the odds are stacked at that one. Then you got to fall in love fairly quickly and get married at 20 each. And then a couple big things have to happen. One, you have to stay in love. And given that we have a divorce rate of 50%, that is already a steep hill. For 70 years, you have to love that human being. And then, the biggest one of the whole, you both have to be healthy into your 90s. Somebody can't get cancer. Somebody can't get in a car accident. Somebody can't get leukemia. Somebody can't get a bad disease that happened to all of us, and we've probably all had it in our family, in our life. So you have to have got married at 20. You have to have stayed in love, and you have to have both been healthy. And then you have to live to 90s. And then you get to that number. That's how rare Joni and Stan's relationship were. So at the end of every convention, as much joy as he had, he would say, Todd, I'm looking forward. I get to go home to see Joni. And when Joni passed away, it was telling. For me personally, it was telling. I started seeing the slide for him because I think ultimately what Stan died of was a broken heart. He would say to me, Todd, I just want to see Joni. I just want to see Joni. And so for about a year when she wasn't there, it broke his heart. And ultimately, I'm hoping that they're both together today. The second thing that he loved was you guys, right? I had the distinct pleasure of being around him dozens and dozens of times. And you guys gave him energy. I am telling you, as much as you think he gave you, you guys gave it back to him in spades. And he would say that. He would sit, again, behind that curtain, and he'd sit there, and the conversations we would have would be, isn't this great? Isn't this a great weekend? Do you see all the people? Look at the smiles on their face. Did you see that little kid that asked the question? Oh my gosh, this was a good weekend. And on top of it being a great weekend, I get to go home to Joni, and that was it. And it was perfect for him. It was perfect for him. And he had a good life. The last time Stan and I were on stage was right here. And you guys remember he was sitting right here. And we got to ask him a few questions. And he got to say it for the last time. And he got to give you guys his gratitude. And so today, we're going to spend a couple of minutes here, hopefully giving a bit of our gratitude. And I'm telling you, we're all going to miss him. And here's what I know for a fact. Here's what I know for a fact. Whatever it is that we're saying about this man today will be nothing compared to 20 years from now. And you know why I say that? Because every one of his characters are going to continue to grow. Marvel's going to grow. The movies are going to grow. They're going to begat their own sequels, their TV shows, their comic books. Whatever the circle is that we think is Marvel Comics is just going to get bigger. So whatever we're saying, oh my gosh, you remember all that stuff that Stan helped create with those other co-creators? Man, it was this big, in 20 years it's going to be this big. He owed a debt of gratitude to his fans, and he always told me, Todd, if you ever see them, tell them thank you. Today I'm saying thank you. And without further ado, let's take it up to Stan Lee himself. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. You know why you're here? Here's Mr. Stan, the man, Lee.
If I had to pick the one perfect word to embody the most extraordinary man I've ever known, it would be imagination. Stan had the grandest imagination and shared it with us, his fans, and over his life, the entire world. His comic books were the architect of worlds and super characters that now live in our imaginations and keep us entertained. Above all, and even though his creations are larger than life, it actually reinforces humanity and our daily struggles of good versus bad, loving our friends and family near and dear, to stamp out injustices and to stick up for our beliefs, and to live a life to help others.
Anybody who has great power has a responsibility to wield that power well, and for justice and for righteousness.
Stan always made everyone feel like a superhero, like they were the most important person in the world, and it was up to them to make a difference. He can make anyone smile and embrace their inner child and let them feel free to dream.
I think I've learned a lot about what young people think. More importantly, I think I've learned a lot about what young people are. We're going to try to present a voice that somebody will listen to. The voice is needed. We hope it will be ours.
Very early on, when I first met Stan, he asked me who my favorite superhero was, and without hesitation, I said Spider-Man. He quickly made a joke about how I look like Peter Parker and instantly made me feel at ease. He told me why Spider-Man would be one of the biggest global superheroes one day, and it was because Spider-Man was every kid. It didn't matter what you look like, where you were from, the color of your skin, your religious beliefs, even whether you were a boy or girl, because when you're wearing the mask, no one will know the difference. I still get goosebumps every time I tell that story.
You know, I guess one person can make a difference.
I will always remember Stan, and I will always think that I'm Spider-Man. Thank you, Stan, for everything you've given us, and especially the power of having a great imagination.
Excelsior!